Islam Makhachev, where does he go from here, guys? Right? And where he goes from here when I ask that question, I'm talking about from a tactical strategic standpoint. And Islam works with one of the most tactical strategists in the business, Ali Abdelaziz. But the problem today does not change from a week ago, which is, how do you get on the docket with one of the stars? 155 pounds has some stars. Justin Gaethje is a bona fide star. Go see the numbers of UFC 246. Michael Chandler is a bona fide star. Go see the numbers of his last two events and watch the interviews afterwards, of which are captioned online and have an exact audit for you to view. It's one of these very tough spots. Dustin Poirier, for all the wonderful works he's done, but +2 on Conor McGregor, is an actual star. Charles Oliveira is in high demand. And he doesn't even have to fall into that category because he's the goddamn champion of the world. He's the main event any way you want to slice it. How do you get on the docket with a star? It's very different than how do I get on with a top 10 guy? How do I get on with a tough guy? And when you start to break into the top 5, you only need one. If you're ranked number 6 in the world, just by example, if you beat anybody in the top 5, that's all you need. A number 4 ranking gets your world title fight. Don't be lost in this number 1 contenders business. When's the last time you saw a number 1 contender who was actually the number 1 ranked guy? And I know you could give me examples. I'm aware that it happens. I'm just sharing with you. Now you're in the conversation. People love to say MMA math doesn't work. MMA math is an extremely real thing. And if we have a common opponent and I beat him, I just beat you. At least in an argument, which is all I have to be the victor in to get the contract. So it's a very relevant point of what does Islam need to do? How does he get on the docket? How does he get one of these stars? It was very cool what Tony Ferguson did. Tony Ferguson did this for Charles Oliveira. Tony was one of the stars, got up in the loft, dropped the ladder down behind him so that Oliveira could climb up. Oliveira never fought for a world championship, never won a world championship, never was a main event if it wasn't for Tony Ferguson. I'm not sure that Charles Oliveira fully understands that. And Charles Oliveira is a veteran himself. He deserved, he qualified to be further along than he was. I don't question that, but he wasn't. He wasn't. Nate Diaz did the same thing for George Masvidal. George Masvidal was a journeyman, and he was a tough guy, and he was gaining some steam. He threw a knee over Askren. That gave him a big bump. But when he threw that knee over Askren, he wasn't the main event. He wasn't even the co-main event, just by example that night. He's never been anything less than a main event since, but he needed Nate. Masvidal does acknowledge that. I read an interview by Masvidal or listened to it where he said, I will give a rematch to Nate anytime because of what he did for me. But that's a street guy. Street guys follow a different code, the right code. They had fathers and they were raised the right way. They understand quid pro quo, which you should never have to apologize for. And they understand the value of having a favor and the need to return the favor. So, how does Islam break into a top 5? Well, it's kind of already began. Justin Gaethje, who never says boo about anything, spoke up pretty heavily over the weekend. Justin Gaethje is getting ready to go do battle with Chandler in what many of us believe is the number 1 contenders fight. Right? Many of us are looking at that, particular if Gaethje wins. That would draw him right back in to either Poirier or Oliveira. It would be very exciting. You'd have a little bit of parity there. And all of a sudden, Islam comes riding in on a 6. He's got Daniel Cormier backing him up, saying, oh, no, that was it. That was the number 1 contenders match. So you had Justin, of course, responding to it. I only bring that to you because Justin knows what he's responding to. He's not just responding to Daniel Cormier in his opinion. He's responding to Islam. He's the first guy to ever speak up that wasn't all pro, oh, let me get out of the way, this is Khabib's guy. Showed a little courage for himself. Showed that he's got a little bit of grit and a little bit of fire still in the belly. So possibly that's the answer. Possibly Justin Gaethje's your guy. Don't forget, it doesn't matter if Gaethje beats Chandler or not. If Islam can get into the top 5, Islam can go and fight for the belt. That's the piece that everybody wants to miss. Guys don't even know how the goddamn rankings work. If you were a top 10 guy, you will only fight guys in the top 10. If you are a top 5 guy, you will only fight guys in the top 5. And at any point, you are eligible to go and fight for the belt. The rest of the guys, guy on the regional circuit with a dream whose name didn't get written down on this, as Jon Jones called it, silly little list, you have to fight everybody else. You don't know whose name's going to come out of the hat. You got to be ready for anybody at any time. You're a top 15 guy. You're anybody. You can be ranked in the top 15, fight a guy on his debut that's never been in the organization. You qualify for nothing. Top 15 does not count. Top 10 is all that counts. And if you get to the top 5, you kind of got your marching orders. And I only bring that to you because that's all the further he's going to have to go. If Gaethje gets beat, Gaethje's still a top 5 guy. Gaethje's going to want to get back on the horse, I would imagine. Go through Islam, come right back in. I mean, they're partners. They both have to have something. It's a very rough game. All chips are in at all times. It's a very rough game, but make no mistake, we're still partners. You got to bring something, I'll bring something, winner take all. And no, there's no part of me that guesses that Gaethje, with a victory or without one, goes into Islam, but he's the first one to start speaking about it. I'm just speaking purely to what Islam needs. Islam doesn't need another win. He doesn't need another beautiful increase on his record. He doesn't need anybody else to come out and speak on his behalf. He's got to get on the docket with a star.